For eons, beneath the ash-strewn plains of the desolate planet Cryon 7, a vault lay hidden, its existence whispered only in the oldest myths of the galaxy. This was no ordinary structure. It was a monolith of obsidian and starlight, older than the constellations themselves, untouched by decay, and cloaked in an eerie stillness. At its heart rested the Starforge Mantle, an artifact of unimaginable power, its surface shimmering like molten starfire, pulsing as though alive. No species, no matter how advanced, dared approach it. The mantle was said to reject all who sought its power, its will as unyielding as the void. The Clythar Dominion, a warlike race of biomechanical titans, were the first to tremble. They sent their mightiest champions, armed with fusion lances and quantum disruptors, to claim the mantle. But the artifact unleashed a torrent of raw energy, reducing their armies to ash and scattering their ships into the cosmos. Next came the Etherian Scholars, a collective of sentient light beings who believed the mantle was attuned to a specific genetic code lost to time. They crafted thousands of bioforms, blending DNA from every known species, yet the mantle remained dormant, its glow cold and unyielding. Legends grew, tales of a prophecy etched in a language no one could read. The spark of the forgotten shall claim the star's embrace, and the one who is least shall become the most. Most dismissed it as fable, a relic of a bygone era. Others feared it, for the last attempt to seize the mantle had triggered a cataclysm that shattered a nearby planet into a ring of glowing debris. The vault was sealed, guarded by automated sentinels, and forgotten, until a human stumbled upon it. His name was Elias Varn, a scavenger from Earth's outer colonies. Not a hero, not a warrior, just a man with a knack for finding lost things. Elias was part of a ragtag crew aboard the Stellar Wisp, a battered freighter that roamed the galaxy's fringes, salvaging ancient tech to trade for fuel and supplies. He wasn't driven by glory, only survival. When the Wisp's engines faltered near Cryon 7, a planet marked as a dead zone on every star chart, Elias saw opportunity where others saw danger. The crew landed on the ashen surface, their scanners picking up faint energy signatures beneath the ground. Elias, ever curious, ventured alone toward a jagged scar in the planet's crust, where a faint glow pulsed like a beacon. No alarm sounded, no defenses activated. Cryon 7 had been abandoned for millennia, its secrets left to rot. Guided by instinct, Elias descended into the monolith, his flashlight cutting through the darkness, revealing walls carved with cryptic sigils and murals of towering figures clad in radiant armor, facing horrors that seemed to writhe within the stone itself. At the vault's core, suspended above a pool of liquid starlight, was the Starforge Mantle. It was unlike anything Elias had seen, a suit of armor that seemed to shift between solid and liquid, its surface rippling like a living thing. He felt a pull, not in his mind but in his blood, as if the mantle was calling to him. Against all reason, he stepped closer. The air grew heavy, the sigils on the walls flaring brighter. A tendril of the mantle's material extended toward him, hesitant, almost curious. Elias reached out, his fingers brushing its surface, and the universe changed. There was no pain, no resistance. The mantle flowed over Elias like a tide, molding to his body, forming a seamless second skin. It encased his limbs, his torso, his head, a helmet sealing around him with a soft hum. He should have been terrified, but instead he felt alive. His senses sharpened, colors were vivid, sounds crisp, his thoughts racing with clarity he'd never known. The mantle wasn't just armor, it was a partner, a presence in his mind, whispering a single word. Accepted. Across the galaxy, ancient relays flickered to life. In the halls of the Galactic Concord, a coalition of 1,000 species, a crimson beacon pulsed on a console untouched for 7,000 years. The chamber fell silent, then erupted in chaos. "The mantle has chosen!" cried a delegate, their voice trembling. "What species? Who dares?" When the answer came, human, disbelief turned to fear. A grizzled warlord of the Vaxilon clan stood, his scales rattling. A human? Impossible. They are primitives, scavengers. The mantle would never choose such a weakling. But an ancient oracle, a being of pure crystal named Silvara, spoke softly. If the mantle has chosen a human, the great void stirs. We are not prepared. Back on Cryon 7, Elias stood in the vault, the mantle glowing softly. He felt its thoughts, not as words but as instincts, guiding him. His communicator crackled, but the mantle blocked it, shielding him from external signals. You are not ready for them to know, it seemed to say. Elias climbed back to the stellar wisp, each step feeling lighter, stronger. The ship's systems flared to life as he approached, screens displaying glyphs he shouldn't have understood but did. The mantle was translating, feeding him knowledge of a long-dead civilization. The mantle revealed its purpose in fragments, like a dream pieced together. It was forged by the Elthar, a race that vanished before the stars were young, to combat a force known as the Nullveil, a malevolent entity that didn't conquer but erased, consuming entire systems to fuel its hunger. The Elthar had sealed the Nullveil beyond the galactic rim, but the seal was weakening. The mantle was more than armor. It was a key to awaken the Elthar's final defense, a network of weapons and sentinels scattered across the stars. By bonding with Elias, it had sent a signal, a beacon that the Nullveil had felt. As Elias boarded the Wisp, the sky above Cryon 7 darkened. 3 sleek ships, their hulls like blackened bone, broke through the atmosphere. They weren't conquered vessels, but hunters, sent by an unknown faction that had monitored the mantle's signal. The Wisp's alarms blared, but the mantle reacted faster, syncing with the ship's systems, enhancing its shields, and activating a hidden drive. With a surge of energy, the ship tore into hyperspace, leaving Cryon 7 behind in a flash of light that fractured the planet's surface. Elias emerged in an uncharted sector, the ship drifting near a shattered world encircled by a graveyard of debris, wrecked ships, ancient stations, and weapons frozen in orbit. The mantle's voice, calm yet urgent, named the place. Zarathus, a stronghold of the Aelthar, now a tomb. It guided Elias to land, his boots crunching on a surface of twisted metal and ash. The mantle pulsed, directing him toward a sunken temple, its entrance sealed by a gate of liquid crystal. Inside, the temple was a labyrinth of glowing conduits and statues of Elthar warriors, their forms alien yet majestic. At its heart stood a pedestal, a crystalline orb hovering above it, radiating data in waves too complex for any human mind. But the mantle filtered it, slowing the torrent to a trickle Elias could comprehend. He learned the mantle was one of 9, each bonded to an Elthar champion. When the Nullveil first attacked, the champions fell, their mantles hidden to prevent misuse. The prophecy spoke of a new bearer, one whose blood carried the Elthar's spark, a descendant of a lineage thought extinct. Elias was that descendant, his DNA a faint echo of the Elthar, hidden in humanity's forgotten past. The mantle had chosen him not by chance but by design, awakening to face the Nullveil's return. The orb revealed more. Secret factions, the Shadow Cabal, had guarded the mantle's locations, sworn to destroy any who claimed them. Now they hunted Elias, their ships already closing in. Alarms echoed through the mantle. The temple trembled as unmarked cruisers descended, their sensors sweeping the ruins. Elias felt no fear, only purpose. The mantle glowed, golden veins of energy tracing its surface. He stepped outside, facing the ships as they fired. Beams lanced toward him, but the mantle raised a shield, deflecting the attack. With a thought, Elias unleashed a wave of force, the ground splitting beneath a cruiser, crushing it into the earth. The others fled, but the mantle propelled him skyward, golden energy flaring as he struck, reducing the ships to wreckage. The destruction of the hunters sent ripples through the galaxy. In the Concord's halls, panic reigned. The Shadow Cabal, a clandestine order of emperors and warlords, convened in secret, their faces hidden behind holographic veils. The human must be stopped, one hissed. He wields the mantle, but he cannot know its true power. Another, a machine lord with eyes like dying stars, countered, we cannot kill him. The mantle is the key. We must control it. On Zarathus, Elias stood amid the wreckage, the mantle's voice steady in his mind. The first battle is won, but the eyes of the galaxy are upon you. He felt the weight of its words, sensing a presence beyond the stars, something vast and cold, stirring in response to the mantle's awakening. The orb had shown him glimpses of the null veil, shadows that devoured light, fleets that dwarfed galaxies, a hunger that knew no end. The Wisp's sensors detected a new signal, not a distress call, but a message encoded in Elthar script. It spoke of a weapon, the Starforge array, capable of repelling the null veil. The mantle was its key, but activating it required Elias to find the other 8 mantles hidden across the galaxy. Each was guarded, each a trial. And the Shadow Cabal was already moving, their fleets converging on his location. As Elias piloted the Wisp into hyperspace, a new voice pierced his mind. Not the mantle's calm presence, but a jagged, icy whisper. You wield the spark, human, but you will burn before it ignites. The null veil had found him. The sky flared as a fleet emerged, massive ships of twisted metal, their hulls pulsing with green fire. The air grew heavy, space itself warping under their presence. The mantle reacted, enhancing Elias's senses, revealing the ship's weaknesses. He engaged, the Wisp weaving through a storm of energy blasts. The mantle's power surged, cloaking the ship in a field that deflected the first wave of fire. But the enemy adapted, their weapons shifting to quantum disruptors that shook the Wisp's hull. Elias focused, the mantle guiding his hands. He manipulated the battlefield, bending space to redirect the enemy's fire back at them. One ship imploded, its core collapsing in a burst of light. The others scattered, but Elias pursued, the mantle's energy flowing through him like a living current. As the last ship fell, the null veil's voice returned, colder now. This is not the end, Sparkbearer. The void comes for all. Elias's heart raced, but the mantle steadied him. He was no longer just a scavenger. He was the mantle's chosen, the last hope against a darkness older than the stars. The Wisp drifted in the void, its systems humming with Elthar data. Elias sat in the pilot's seat, the mantle's glow reflecting in his eyes. The galaxy was watching, allies and enemies alike. The Shadow Cabal would not stop, nor would the null veil. The other mantles called to him, their locations flickering in his mind like distant stars. Each would bring new battles, new truths, and new dangers. He didn't know if he was ready, but the mantle did. It had chosen him for a reason, and as the ship's engines roared to life, Elias set course for the next mantle. The war had begun, and he would face it, not as a scavenger, but as the spark of the Elthar, the one who would either save the galaxy or watch it fall. The stars burned brighter, and somewhere in the darkness, the null veil waited.